Okay,
Good to
we're all
go.
good.
Okay, thanks ladies and gentlemen for your indulgence. Just by way of introduction, I'm Brendan McGrath, the Chief Executive Officer of the Royal City of Wangaratta. I don't normally commence the meeting. I'm doing that this evening because we have a mayoral election tonight on the agenda, and the mayor goes out of office on the morning of that. So I'll be the temporary chairperson through until we get the mayor elected. So thanks for coming along tonight. Just to let you know, we are live streaming. This meeting is being recorded as well to improve access to the meeting for our community. The recording will be published on our website and will be retained by council in accordance with its legal obligations. And as a visitor to the gallery, your presence may be recorded as part of that recording and live stream. Moving on to an acknowledgement of our traditional owners. Councillor Rees, do you want to read that one?
Certainly, thank you, CEO McGrath. I'd like to stand for the acknowledgement of the country and then the prayer. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land which we work and live and recognise their continuing connection to the land, water and community. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, Aboriginal people and non-Aboriginal people that are present in this meeting. I acknowledge the ongoing impact of colonisation for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, families and communities. I express my hope for reconciliation. I would also like to acknowledge the victim survivors of family violence, the majority who are women and are children. Children's voices are often silent and their experience and the agency is minimised. It's essential children are seen as victims in their own right and acknowledge their experiences that are unique.
Councillor Grant.
Almighty God, we humbly ask Thee to bless and guide this council in its deliberations so that we may truly preserve the welfare of the people whom we serve. Amen.
Thank you. We have all councillors present and none absent. But just introduce Marsha McMonigal, who's standing in for Director Marcus Goonan, who is away unwell this evening. So Marsha has stepped into his place for us. Thank you, Marsha. There are no apologies or granting of leaves of absence. We have no citizenship ceremony tonight. Can I ask someone to confirm the minutes of the 25 October council meeting?
Mr. Mayor, was a minor alteration of 15.1 in the previous minutes, that the word should be lost to Councillor Harry's recommendation at the time because it wasn't a motion. It was lapsed instead of lost.
So I think we've got in the minutes, we've recorded it as lost, but it was actually lapsed because it didn't have a seconder, so we'll pick up and correct that. We have a seconder to the minutes with that amendment. Irene, Councillor Irene, thank you. All those in favour? It's carried. Conflicts of interest. Councillor Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Brendan. I have a material conflict in 14.1 as my employer Junction Support Services has applied for a community grant.
Thanks, Councillor Fitzpatrick. Councillor Harry.
Thank you, CEO. I have a general conflict of interest in relation to item 14.1, and the conflict being that I was committee member of the Wangaratta Farmers Market up until the 22nd of November 2022.
Thank you, Councillor Harry. Sarah?
I also have a direct conflict of interest to 14.1 because I was a committee member of the Wangaratta Symphony Orchestra until last Tuesday, the 22nd of November. They also applied for funding.
Thanks, Sarah. Any other conflicts of interest we need to declare? None? We don't have any petitions or deputations. I think we do have a couple of councillor reports. Jack, do you have one?
Thank you, CEO. I just wanted to take a moment to place a bit of focus on the Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance, which is an important collaboration to which Royal City of Wangaratta is a party. We are a member. And it's in celebration of 15 years of regional climate action. The Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance is a network of 17 committed local government, agency and alpine resort partners across the Goulburn and Upper Murray regions. It is responding and adapting to climate change through collaboration, advocacy and innovative projects. 2022 marks 15 years since the formation of the group, which is a model that has now grown to cover 74 of 79 Victorian local government areas. and it has been recognised as best practice in addressing climate change, winning several awards over the years, including multiple Victorian Premier Sustainability Awards. Over the past 5 years that the rural city of Wangaratta has been a member of the GMCA, our municipality has directly mitigated nearly 5,000 tonnes of CO2 equivalent emissions, while also saving over $740,000 in efficiencies as a direct result of innovative projects and partnerships coordinated by the GMCA. Now that the municipal buildings and facilities will soon be powered by 100% renewable energy, that's going to happen from mid-2023, we're excited about the additional avoided emissions and associated savings from 2023 onward. Collectively, these savings, plus research and project grants, the GMCA has made possible some $10.5 million of benefit to communities in the Goulburn-Murray regions since 2007. I look forward to our municipality remaining a key partner in the GMCA going forward, and upon regard for the financial benefits we have garnered, to not for a minute discount the global benefits of reducing emissions, I trust that we will have the confidence and initiative to continue to support the GMCA in advancing its work without undue hesitation or intimidation even by the prospect of being the ones that innovate and the ones that break ground, leaders, if you will. As we celebrate its 15-year anniversary, it must be said the work of the GMCA and its member organisations in mitigation of and adaptation to climate change has never been more critical. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Herry. Councillor Grant.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And this refers to a meeting that was held at the Greta Hansonville Hall. I held a meeting with the Greta community on November 16. This meeting, the second this year, is a way that I, as Ward Councillor for the district, can meet and discuss issues of concern and interest with the community. I was pleased to see a large number of people in the meeting room. The discussion focused on grant programs, waste management, the cemetery, the Bunyard Community Magazine, and of course roads and roads maintenance. As always, there was a list of items to take on notice and investigate. And one just to take home was the suggestion of a historical storyboard at Greta West, and there'll be more to come on that particular issue. There was a lot of discussion around the future and maintenance of the hall. Recent work at the Millewa Hall was highlighted as a positive example of how community can come together and make a huge physical difference to a local facility with the rural city of Wangaratta's assistance. The Mayor and Deputy also came to the meeting, and I have to say I had to keep my voice very loud to be heard over the top of those two. Since the meeting, I've had the opportunity to go on a tour of the Greta roads and culverts, again with the Mayor and the CEO and our Director of Infrastructure, and any necessary works have been marked down as action on the schedule. Naturally, there are always tougher issues to resolve, but this clearly can't be done without the support of the local community, and I certainly, in having our meetings out there, have quite a lot of support, so that's been fantastic. Next meeting is in February, and the date will be advised.
Thanks, Councillor Grant. Councillor Rees.
Thank you, CEO McGrath. I'd just like to point out my acknowledgement to country was a little bit lengthy today, and I mentioned, and I'll just voice what I said in the latter half of my welcome to country, was I'd also like to acknowledge the victims, survivors of family violence, the majority who are women and children. Children's voices are often silenced and their experiences and agencies minimised. It is essential children are seen as victims in their own right and acknowledge their experience. This starts off this week of 16 days of activism, and I'd just like to point that out that this is based around gender-based violence. This is a great led program to make people aware that violence is in our community, and we say no to gender-based violence. So thank you, CEO McGrath.
Thanks, Councillor Rees. Any other councillor reports? Councillor Busk.
Thank you, CEO McGrath. Last Wednesday, the 23rd November 2022, the rural city of Wangaratta held its largest ever citizenship ceremony. We welcomed 42 people to be naturalised. These people had come from all around the world and now call our municipality home. from Kenya to Sri Lanka. It was a really happy, positive ceremony and showed the best of Wangaratta's spirit. There were just under 200 guests in attendance, and each person participating in the ceremony was clapped and welcomed with great support as their names were read. As councillors, we get to see and take part in many events, but there is something special about being a part of conducting a ceremony that confers Australian citizenship. And my apologies in advance here for if I mangle these names. I have to give special mention to our council's own Akila and Melita Fernando and their daughter Amindi. Melita is a town planner council, and Akila has worked for the gallery and now the events team. It was wonderful to see the happiness the ceremony brought to them. We all felt it. We will now look forward to our next citizenship ceremony on Australia Day. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bussell. Councillor Rees.
Sorry, CEO McGrath, I just wanted to also make a point of one of our crossing supervisors who passed recently. Was a great part of the rural city of Wangaratta, was our main person down here at our St Pat's Primary School, to Sharon Routledge. I'd like to pass my condolences to her family for her most recent passing. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Rees. Councillor Fuller.
Thank you. There's no other reports, CEO McGrath. I'd like to move that they are tabled, those 4 reports, 4.5 reports, in the minutes for us. Thank you.
And Councillor Fitzpatrick, you're seconding that. Everyone in favour of that? Yes. Okay, carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to officers' reports. There are no reports in executive services, corporate and leisure. We have a number of items, including the main event for this evening. So, Sarah.
Thank you. So we have a few reports to follow for the election of the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor, and then appointment of councillors to portfolios and the Audit and Risk Committee. So I'll start with the first report of these, which is the determination of the Mayor. Under the Local Government Act, the role of Mayor can be set for 1 or 2 years. The role of Mayor has a number of responsibilities, but in particular in chairing council meetings, being the principal spokesperson for the council in the community, and leading engagement with the community, in particular on the development of the council plan, which sets out council's priorities for delivery. They also perform civic and ceremonial duties on behalf of council, along with a number of other responsibilities which are listed in these reports. So the first matter is for councillors to please determine the term of the next Mayor for 1 or 2 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Do we have any questions from the gallery on this agenda item? For those of you who are here for the first time, we offer an opportunity to ask questions from the gallery of that specific agenda item, if anyone has any. No? Okay, can I have someone move either a 1 or 2 year term for Mayor? Councillor Fitzpatrick.
Thanks, Brendan. I'd like to move that the Mayor term will be 1 year.
We have a seconder. Councillor Bussell, I think, just got in front of Councillor Grant. All those in favour of a 1 year term of Mayor? That's carried. Thank you. Sarah, 13.2.
Alright, so moving to the next item is the election of the Mayor itself. So I've spoken to the role of Mayor already, and there is a particular process for this election which will be facilitated by the CEO. So the recommendation is please that Council elects a Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Do I have any nominations for the position of Mayor? Councillor Bussell.
Thanks, Brendan. I'd like to nominate Councillor Rees.
Thank you. Councillor Rees, do you accept that nomination?
I do accept that nomination, CEO McGrath.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Do we have any other nominations for the position of Mayor? No? That being the case, I duly declare Councillor Rees elected Mayor. Congratulations. I'll ask Councillor Rees to assume the Mayor's chair and take over chairing of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good to be back in the chair after a morning without it. So
Thanks, Jeremy. To my fellow councillors, thank you for your support, and we look forward to another great year ahead at the Rural City of Wangaratta. Thank you to the public for your support too, my role as the Mayor. So without further ado, I will go on to the election of the Deputy Mayor under item 13.3. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. So the first matter here is for councillors to determine whether there should be an office of Deputy Mayor or not. Principally the role of the Deputy Mayor is to step in and provide cover for the Mayor should they be unavailable. So the term of the Deputy Mayor automatically should match the term of the Mayor. So over to councillors with the recommendation of establishing the office of the Deputy Mayor for the next year, please. Thank you.
Can I have a mover or somebody to move them? Councillor Bussell to move the, for the office to have a Deputy Mayor? Sorry, Councillor Benton, sorry.
I'll move the recommendation that we establish the office of Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Benton. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Grant. Thank you. Are there any questions from the gallery on this too? I should ask that. Okay, can I have a nomination? Oh, sorry, I'll go back. Are all those in favour of the establishment of the Deputy Mayor? The recommendation is carried. Thank you, Councillor Benton, Councillor Grant. The establishment of the election of the Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. So now that the office has been established, there is again a very similar process for the election of Deputy Mayor, and I'll cut straight to the recommendation that councillors proceed to elect a Deputy Mayor for the same term as the Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Are there any questions from the gallery? Now again, I will look for a mover to someone to suggest. Councillor Grant.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to nominate Councillor Bussell as the Deputy.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Councillor Bussell, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, thank you.
Are there any other persons that would like to elect for the Deputy Mayor position? No? In that case, thank you. I would like to announce Councillor Harry Bussell for 2022-2023 as the Deputy Mayor. Congratulations, Harry. Councillor Bussell, did you want to say anything in relation to your election of the Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd firstly like to thank all my fellow councillors for the support that I've had over the last while, and I pledge to do my absolute best over the next 12 months while I'm Deputy Mayor, and I'll do my very, very best to make sure the Mayor looks good as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bussell. Item 13.5, Sarah, is the appointment of councillors to the Audit and Risk Committee.
Thank you. So under the Local Government Act, Council has an Audit and Risk Committee that is responsible for providing oversight of Council's management of its financial performance and also of its risks and associated controls. The committee has 4 independent members and also 2 councillor members who are re-elected each year. And so similarly call upon councillors please to appoint 2 councillors to fill this position for the next 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So the recommendation is to, I'd like to put forward the names of Councillor Jack Herry and Councillor Deputy Mayor Harry Bussell to the Audit and Risk Committee. So I'd like to move that recommendation to put that forward. Again, sorry, are there any questions from the audience on that one? No. Thank you. Can I have a seconder for that? Councillor Grant. Would any councillor like to talk on that? No. Councillor Herry, please.
Thank you, Mayor Rees. I just want to, I guess, acknowledge the utmost importance of the area of risk and audit. Also highlight not just the area of financial audit. I think if you speak to any auditor, they will attest to the rapid expansion of that field over recent years and decades. An organisation certainly must manage its risks and always has to have one eye focused on internal our processes and operations in order to maintain its delivery of its, its primary functions and deliver its services. As local government, a lot of those services are incredibly important and relied upon by our community members. So I definitely won't take the confidence of my colleagues lightly in this role, and do intend to exercise the responsibility fully if elected, if appointed rather.
Thank you, Councillor. If there's no further councillor speeches on this, I'd like to put a recommendation forward. We have a mover and a seconder. So all those in favour? And the recommendation is carried. Congratulations, Councillor Bussell and Councillor Herry. Sarah, we'll move on to item 13.6, which is for Council to consider portfolios revision.
Thank you. So we have as an attachment the current allocation of councillors to a range of portfolios. What having the portfolios does is provides community members with a clear point of contact amongst the councillors to channel any feedback or matters for consideration of the council. For councillors, similarly, it provides an opportunity to develop a deeper knowledge of a particular subject matter area where they may be able to add particular value or have a particular interest, or their community may have a particular interest. So the recommendation is for council to consider the current portfolio compositions and advise of any amendments. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I'd just like to put forward some different points to the portfolio recommendations there. Number one is that we change the portfolio of arts and culture, events and heritage to just straight out arts and culture. That we appoint Councillor Fuller also to the agricultural portfolio alongside Harvey Benton. Number three is to appoint Councillor Grant to the arts and culture portfolio alongside Councillor Fuller. Number four is to appoint Councillor Fitzpatrick to the community engagement portfolio in place of Councillor Fuller and alongside Councillor Herry. We also appoint myself, Councillor Reeves, to the economic development portfolio alongside Councillor Grant. And number six is to appoint Councillor Grant to the Sustainability, Environment and Resource Recovery portfolio along with Councillor Herry, and also Councillor Herry to the planning portfolio, which is my portfolio, alongside me. So I'd like to move that as changes to the recommendation. Can I have a seconder to that, please? Councillor Benton. Are there any questions or any talk on those issues? Thanks, councillors. Councillor Grant?
Well, yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'm pleased to see that we've had portfolios where there's been considerable discussion around the value or otherwise of the portfolio process. My view is, and I'm pleased to see that it's happening, that we actually expand the number of people allocated to the portfolios, but also never preclude anyone from attending if that's what they want to do, a particular meeting or a particular committee around a particular portfolio. So it's about being more inclusive and broadening the focus of portfolios to the council. So I said that's a good move forward.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Agree totally. If there's no other discussion from councils, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? And the recommendation is carried. Director Brindley, please. 13.7 is the 2023 council meeting dates and venues.
Thank you. So council advertises the schedule for future council meetings before the start of the next calendar year. We have an approach where we seek to have 4 council meetings in the townships each year alongside the meetings that occur here, which provide a great opportunity to connect with the broader community and municipality, and you'll see that reflected on the screen. We also have some meetings at an earlier time of 3 p.m, which does seem to be quite popular and just gives an opportunity for community members to perhaps join some meetings if they might not be able to in the evening. So the recommendation is that council endorses the schedule of council meeting dates and venues for 2023 that you can see up there on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Brindley. If there's no questions from the gallery? No, thank you. I'll put the recommendation, can I have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Grant and Councillor Bustle to second that. Councillor Grant, did you want to talk on these council dates and venues?
Well, only to endorse the fact that we're having quite a few of them in our country areas. They're usually very well attended. People appreciate the fact that council actually comes to the people in this instance. And I'm glad that we've continued the practice and we'll hopefully we'll do that well into the future and enjoy the support of the broader community in that way.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Councillor Bustle.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I support what Councillor Grant said. And it's very interesting when we go to the country and we take council to the people, we get many more people in the gallery, and it's really heartening when you go to the country areas, and sometimes you get as many as 30 people in the gallery. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Herry.
Yeah, I'll just echo support for the comments made by Councillor Bustle and Councillor Grant, and just point out the fact, I guess, that it is very much a choice to have these meetings held in rural locations. There's no kind of legislative requirement, and dare I say it, but some councils who have a large centre and smaller townships around it certainly may choose not to, and I'm glad that we are not one of those councils. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Herry. Any other councillor, Irene, as a right reply?
Well, actually, I think Councillor Herry made a very valid point that we don't have to do this, and the fact that we do it, and it's such a productive relationship that we've developed over a period of time. It really is worthwhile, and we always find that the supper is always worth going out for as well.
That it is. Thanks, Councillor Grant. There's no more conversation. I'll put the recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? And the recommendation is carried. Thank you, Director Brindley. We'll now move on to items 14, which is community infrastructure, and we look towards Acting Director McMonigle for Community Grants 2022-2023 recommendations at 14.1.
Pardon.
Sorry,
Yep.
I'll go back and have a look at the, sorry, Jack.
Yep, so I'd just like to restate my conflict of interest, being a general conflict of interest in relation to this item, because I was a committee member for the Wangaratta Farmers Market up until the 22nd.
You're prepared to leave the room, Councillor Herry?
I will.
Thank you. Councillor Fitzpatrick.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I also have a material conflict of interest as my employer, Junction Support Services, has applied for a community grant.
Thank you, Councillor Fitzpatrick. You're happy to leave the room as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
One more, please.
Sorry.
I also
Yes.
have a conflict of interest being committee member of the Wangaratta Symphony Orchestra until last Tuesday, but as I'm not voting, I won't.
You don't have to leave the room. Thank you, Director Brindley. Thank you, Acting Director McMonigle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report is presented to Council to provide recommendations in relation to the 22-23 Community Grants Program. Applications have been assessed in a two-stage assessment. The Community Grants Assessment Panel recommends 23 projects for funding, with 16 projects being delivered in urban Wangaratta or benefiting people across the municipality, and 7 projects being delivered in rural areas. The recommendation is that Council awards the total of $140,000 to fund the following 23 projects as part of the 22-23 Community Grants Program, with the projects listed below in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Are there any questions from the gallery on the community grants? No. Councillors, can I please have a mover for this recommendation, please? Councillor Bustle and Councillor Benton, you happy to second? Councillor Bustle, did you want to talk on this recommendation?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. This is a very generous program, I think, and it's really heartening to see so many so many different applicants spread across this $140,000, and I'm also very pleased to see 4 of them in King Valley. And it's with gives me great pleasure to see how generous we are here and how much this will change all these small organisations with helping them. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Benton. Councillor Bussell, Councillor Benton, did you have anything?
I'd just like to endorse what Councillor Bussell has said, and it is a very important program that the council conducts. Excuse me. Excuse me, for the municipality and the communities outside the municipality, specifically the urban area. It's good to see that some of the money is going to the country area. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Benson. No other councillors want to talk on this recommendation? In that case, I'll put the recommendation to the vote. All those in favour of accepting, and the recommendation is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Beck. Could you get Ash and Jack? Thank you, Director McMonigal. 14.2 is the Wangaratta Football Netball Club Change and Upgrade Procurement Award. Could you please continue?
Thank you. This report presented to Council with recommendation to award contract C36923 Wangaratta Football and Netball Club Change and Upgrades. This project is one of 5 key projects to be delivered helping to enhance community infrastructure within the Parklands precinct, the Wangaratta Showgrounds, to improve community resilience during emergency events, and is part of the Black Summer Bushfire Recovery Grants Program. The recommendation here is that Council awards contract C36923 for the Wangaratta Football and Netball Club change room upgrades to Ultra Project Services. Point 2, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to sign and seal the relevant contract documents for C36923 for the Wangaratta Football and Netball Club change room upgrades. And 3, discloses a contract price and successful tender for C36923 for the Wangaratta Football and Netball Club change room upgrades.
Thank you very much, Director. Are there any questions from the gallery? No, thank you. Can I look to a mover for this? Councillor Benton, as part of the Sport and Rec Committee. Thank you for moving that recommendation. A seconder, Councillor Bussell. Councillor Benton, anything to report?
Yes, so to me, I think this to highlight to the community the 2 areas that I'm involved in is emergencies come together here and the sports and rec area in relationship to have this facility utilised when the need arises, and hopefully it doesn't need to be arised, but therefore it can still be used by the community and the sporting arena going forward. And I think it's a tremendous outcome that we've been able to achieve this facility upgrade at the Wangaratta Football and Netball Club room.
Thanks, Councillor Benton. Councillor Bussell, did you want to?
No, Mr Mayor. Councillor Benton said it all.
Thank you. Any other councillor like to talk on the recommendation? Not. Councillor Benton, any reply back? No? All good. I'll put the recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? And the recommendation is carried. Thank you, Director McMonigal. C37236 Newman Street Drainage Improvement. Sorry, we'll go back to that previous one. Could you mention the contract price?
$721,496, including GST.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 14.3, which is the Newman Street Drainage Improvements C37236. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report is presented to Council with a recommendation to award contract C37263 Newman Street Drainage Upgrade and Pump Station. Newman Street is a developing commercial industrial area of Wangaratta. Sustain the industrial growth and upgrade of the infrastructure is required. Rural City of Wangaratta is proposing to complete an urban drainage upgrade of Newman Street of Wangaratta to upgrade the existing drain network and roadways. This project has been partly funded through the Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development, Communication and Arts under the Heavy Vehicle Safety and Productivity Program. The recommendation is that Council awards contract C34236 for Newman Street Drainage Upgrade and Pump Station to Hill Civil Contracting Point 2, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to sign and seal all the relevant contract documents for C34236 for Newman Street, drainage upgrade and pump station. Point 3, discloses the contract price for C34236 for Newman Street, drainage upgrade and pump station. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the gallery on this matter? Please come forward and state your name, Anne.
So Anne Dunstan, this actually relates to 14.3 and 14.4. I would like some understanding about when we grant or when you approve contracts to external contractors, whilst the works is being done, the responsibility and work integrity is obviously of the contractor. At what stage does the council go and inspect it, and how long do you expect a warranty to be of those contractors? For instance, drainage is really important, and we can see lately with all our additional rain, etc., that those areas do deteriorate, and if they're not installed correctly, and the next item again with spray asphalt, if that's not done correctly, what recourse do you have on those contractors to make sure that it's not going to become a council cost, that it's actually back on them?
A ratepayer cost comes back on them at a certain time. Marshall, would you have an answer to that now?
Yeah, our contracts at council do have a 12-month defect period. So after that 12 months, we go through and tick off and make sure that everything is okay. And during that 12 months, that is on the contractor to make sure that any defects that occur in that period is on them until that 12 months is up.
And do we have qualified people within the council to be making those inspections? Like for instance, when you're putting down a road base, you've got a certain level of gravel, and it needs to be a certain grade and consistency, etc. Do we have those qualifications on council to make sure that we're reviewing the works correctly as such?
Yeah, so the new regulations in Victoria for the engineering registration, they came into effect in October this year, and council has 3 registered engineers that tick off and sign off officially the formal process, all of these designs and what we construct. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Does CEO McGrath?
Just slightly off that topic, but I just want to clarify with Marsha, the title of the report and the recommendation actually have slightly different contract numbers. I'm just wondering whether you're able to confirm which of those is correct. Just need to make sure that the resolution that's carried has the correct number.
I believe it'll be 37236.
As on the contents page compared to what's in the executive summary? In the recommendation, I mean.
So the title and the executive summary refer to that number, and the recommendation refers to a different one. So we're going with 37236.
Correct.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, councillors. Please, Jack.
Oh, just in response to Anne Dunstan's question, it was a fantastic question, I think. It's one I've asked myself, and perhaps Marsha might be able to extend on the answer a little bit, but that would be an industry standard, I presume, that warranty defect period of 12 months?
Certain contracts require different timeframes, but with our, these are quite big projects, and for those, we always allow for a 12-month defect period. That's quite standard with all our contracts here at council.
Yeah, very good. And standard in between councils as well?
Yeah, I believe so. Some may offer, different time periods, but it depends on the type of project, whether it's construction or something else as well. But here at Wangaratta, most of ours would be the 1 year or 12-month defect period.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a mover of that recommendation, Councillor Benton?
I'll move the recommendation, then I'm correcting the understanding the contract will be now 37236 in the recommendation.
That's good. Happy to move that. A seconder, please. Councillor Grant, happy to move that, second that. Did any councillor want to talk on the recommendation? Councillor Benton as the mover.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Only that I think this is probably going to alleviate some of the problems we did experience this year in Newman Street, and it's probably going to be able to get some of their business attractions and benefit along Newman Street that has been well deserved for a long, long time. So I'm encouraged, really pleased to see it being done.
Thank you, Councillor Benton. Any other councillor like to talk on the recommendation? No, in that case, I'll put the recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? And the recommendation is carried. We need to disclose the price.
$4,1,674, including GST.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 14.4, which is hopefully correct, C3401 for the Whitfield Streetscape intersection upgrade variation.
Thank you. This report is presented to Council to provide the recommendation to approve a contract variation to C3401 for Whitfield Streetscape intersection, including budget variation request, due to an increased scope of works part funded by the Department of Transport. Item 1, increase from a spray seal to an asphalt overlay. Item 2, undertake a full asphalt overlay of the road from the intersection at Mansfield, Whitfield and Wangaratta Whitfield Road to Valley Drive. The recommendation is for Council approves budget variation request to transfer $53,028 ex-GST or savings from capital project Curb and Channel to the King Valley Prosecco Road Revitalisation Project. Point 2, approves variation to contract C3401 Whitfield Streetscape and Intersection Improvement to the value of $146,724.80 ex-GST, adjusting the revised total contract value to $1,918,428.36 ex-GST. Point 3, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to approve the contract variation for C3401 Whitfield Streetscape and Intersection Improvement.
Thank you, Director. Are there any questions from the gallery on this point? No? I'll look for a mover, Councillor Bustle, and a seconder, Councillor Herry. Councillor Bustle, any talk on this recommendation?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I want to thank Acting Director McMonigal for her tireless work in this project in Whitfield. As I said previously, this is one of the biggest spends the rural city of Wangaratta has ever done south of the Hume Freeway. And it is and will, it's still underway at the moment, transform Whitfield into a much more modern looking township. And this extra scope of works to have a much better, stronger pavement on the intersection and tidy up the street, it will look so much better and be so much more robust in the job. So I think it's fantastic.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Herry, did you want to say something?
I'll just add that it's two main components to this minor adjustment, and the first is Department of Transport bumping up the treatment on the intersection at full cost to themselves, and the second item is Department of Transport going to contribute a 50% contribution towards similarly improved surface on a portion of our road. So it's a much better performing and more durable outcome at not a significant cost to council.
Thank you, Councillor Herry. Does any other councillor want to talk on the recommendation? And Councillor Bustle, no need for a reply. I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? And the recommendation is carried. Acting Director, 14.5 is new plan addition for a reach mower and drain cleaner.
Thank you. This report is presented to Council to approve the new capital purchase of a reach mower and rotary drain cleaner funded via the annual plant and replacement program. The purchase of this reach mower and rotary drain cleaner will significantly improve Council's ability to clean table drains throughout the municipality. There is no overall increase to Council budget as the works are funded from savings. Officers recommend that Council approves funding for this new capital purchase, with the recommendation that Council approves new capital purchase of a reach mower and rotary drain cleaner.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the gallery on this item? No? I'll look for a mover, Councillor Benton to move, and a seconder, Councillor Fitzpatrick. Councillor Benton, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would highlight to say this has probably been long overdue, this equipment, and I really hope to goodness that the maintenance is kept up to the point, because this thing, I will believe, will be nearly working 7 days days a week if it could be, because of the necessity for this to be used out in the field, giving the council now the opportunity to be able to do works when it's not convenient due to weather. It still could be done, and to get into some of the problems we have, particularly in the rural areas with drainage, which I have probably been belting my drum over for about the last 6 years to try and get some better drainage outcomes throughout the municipality, and I thoroughly endorse it.
Thank you, Councillor Benton. Any other councillor like to talk on the recommendation? Councillor Russell and then Councillor Grant. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. And I can't wait to see this machine work. There's just so many of our rural drains that are just all blocked up now and torn apart with the weather we've had over this last winter. And I think and hoping this is a very innovative piece of new.
Thank you. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not usually a girl who gets involved in the technical side of things, but I have to say I'm also very excited about the delivery of this machine, and look forward to seeing it in operation. And if the report says that it's going to improve productivity by as much as 100%, I'd like to see that. So looking forward to the delivery.
Thank you. Councillor Benton has, no other councillors? Yes. Councillor Bustle.
I wish this machine was a ship, because we might be able to do the same trick what we do to a ship when it goes in the water.
Yes. Thank you, Councillor Bustle. Councillor Benton, no, you've said enough. Thank you. I'll put the recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? And the item 14.5 is carried. Thank you. Thank you to Acting Director Marsha McMonagle for stepping in on such short notice. Appreciate it. Item number 15 is 15.1 under Sustainability and Culture. Is 15.1 is the Planning Scheme Amendment C89 75 Carville Werrali Road, Werrali, and I'll hand over to Director Stephen Swart.
Thank you. In April this year, Council resolved to proceed with the sale of land of the former Werrali South Community Scout Hall. To do that, a planning scheme amendment is needed to rezone that land from a public use zone to a farming zone. The amendment was authorised and then publicly exhibited as required by the Planning Environment Act. As a result of that process, and at the time of writing the report, in the agenda we received 2 submissions from authorities. Both of those submissions did not object to the planning scheme amendment proposed or did not request any changes. More recently, Council received a further submission from the North East Catchment Management Authority. That submission also does not object to the proposal or doesn't request any changes. So the next step in the planning scheme amendment process is for Council to consider adopting the proposed rezoning, and officers recommend, the officer's recommendation is on the screen, including adopting the amendment as exhibited and submitting the amendment to the Minister for Planning for final approval.
Thank you, Director Swart. Are there any questions from the gallery on this issue? I'll look for a mover for this. Councillor Grant is a mover and a seconder. Councillor Benton. Councillor Grant, no talk. Councillor Benton. Any other councillors like to talk on this issue? No, thank you. I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? And the recommendation is carried. Thank you, Director Swart. 15.2 Planning Scheme Amendment C88 Reith Road Equine Precinct.
Thank you again. This item is similar in terms of the process of a planning scheme amendment. This time it's the planning scheme amendment C88, and it applies to land known as the Reith Road Equine Precinct. Under the Wangaratta planning scheme, the land is currently included in Schedule 7 of the Special Use Zone, which allows the land to be used as an equine estate associated with thoroughbred horse activities only. This planning scheme amendment proposes to make changes to the Wangaratta planning scheme to allow for a broader range of equine related occupiers and activities on the land. The amendment was exhibited and so a submission was received and referred to a panel. The panel considered that submission and a panel report has been prepared. That panel report is attached to the council agenda. The panel recommends that council adopt the planning scheme amendment as exhibited. The officer's recommendation is on the screen and includes adopting the planning scheme amendment and also submitting the amendment to the Minister for Planning for final approval.
Thank you, Director. Are there any questions from the gallery? Thank you. I'll put the recommendation to council. Do I have a mover for this recommendation, please? Councillor Benton to move, and a seconder, please. Councillor Bussell. Councillor Benton, did you want to talk on the recommendation?
Only just to say, I think it cleans this block of land up so development can take place on it. I think the initial constraints in relation to a thoroughbred only event was a little bit onerous to come onto this land in the first place, so it now gives the opportunity for the development to take place still relating to horses or equine event activities in that area, that the neighbourhoods and so forth will be aware of that when they go to those places. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Benton. I'd like to point out to everybody following Councillor Benton's words on that, and it's very, very true what he says, and a horse is a horse. So whether it's a thoroughbred, a pony, a jumping horse, etc., this just opens the scope to allow more people to purchase land, build their dream home, have horses close to town rather than being out on massive acreage a long way away. So I think this is a good, this has been in the plan for a long, long time, and changing of this, so it's good to see it starting to come to an end, which is great. If there's no further conversation on this matter, Councillor Benton, nothing further as the mover. I'll put the recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? And the recommendation is carried. Thank you, Director Swart. We'll now move to 15.3, Tourism Events Grants.
Thank you. Each year, Council's Tourism Events Grant Funding Program provides financial assistance to event organisers for the promotion and development of their festivals and events. The program is delivered in two parts, and this report considers events taking place between January and June next year. The recent application process for this program resulted in 7 applications. The applications were assessed against program criteria, and it's recommended that Council awards a total of $13,400 to the events listed in the report and on the screen.
Thank you, Director. Are there any questions from the gallery on this report? No, I'll put the recommendation to councillors for a mover. Councillor Bussell to move, and a seconder, Councillor Fitzpatrick. Councillor Bussell, did you want to talk on this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is obviously not a large pool of money. These will all be very worthy events. I just want to point out one, the historic motor show was held a couple of years ago while COVID was on, and it was capped at 5,000 people was the limit to go there. And I was happy to be told there was 4,999 people turned up, which was very, very good. And I'm sure that next time it'll be equally as big a show, so it's a great event. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other councillor like to talk on any of the events in this? No? I'll put the recommendation to the vote, so all those in favour, and the recommendation is carried. Thank you, Director Swart. We'll move through now. There are no special committee reports and advisory committee reports. Item number 18.1 is the minutes from the advisory committee meeting, and that is for advisory committee reports meeting. That council just notes the minutes of these advisory committees and accepts the noting of that. So if there's no questions from the gallery, I'll move a thank you, Councillor Fitzpatrick, on item 18.1, and a seconder, please. Councillor Benton. If there's no questions or no statements, all those in favour, and that recommendation is carried. Thank you. We'll move further down the page. There are no notices of motion, no urgent business, but there is public question time. So what we'll do first, before we go to the gallery, we'll just, I do have some written questions here that I'll just go over, and then we'll ask the gallery. If you want to come up and ask a question, you're most welcome to. We have a limit of 2 questions per person. Please come to the microphone, press the little button that has the man speaking on it, state your name, and then please ask your question. Question number 1 is a question submitted at the council meeting 29th of November 2022 by Alan Flint. And I'll take this on the back of a note from a party close to Alan Flint, which is Joanne Griffiths, who has sent in a report for all councillors to be handed, and all councillors have been handed that report, or that letter. The question here is that the Ned Kelly Centre notes it has written to all councillors on the 29th of November 2022, raising serious concerns regarding the Glenrowan Tower development and the ARTC's bridge development affecting the Glenrowan Heritage Precinct, and regarding council's continuing failure to investigate and publicly release all relevant information as previously requested. Will council act as requested regarding the matter raised in the interest of the protection of heritage and compliance with all statutory requirements? Stephen Swart, have you got an answer for this question, please?
I do, thank you. The response to that question is council will not investigate this matter as previously advised. Council has acted in the interest of protecting relevant heritage values by complying with all statutory requirements, including Heritage Victoria approvals.
Thank you, Director Swart. I'll now move on to a question submitted by Vicky Beaches and Heidi Locks. And it is, what are the Wangaratta City Council's building upstream when you commence the north-west truck bypass that will ensure that my property is protected by flooding? I would like to address this concern at the next council meeting and have the opportunity to discuss my concerns. Previously, I have not had any responses from any correspondence I have forwarded. The issue is causing me great anxiety due to having no response and not being given an update or advice. I look to Marsha McMonigal, our Acting Director of Infrastructure.
Thank you for your question. At this stage, there is a concept design for a possible bypass route which travels north to west. The concept design allows council officers to continue the process of development of Wangaratta in a sustainable way for the long term. If in the future a detailed design is complete, this design will take into account many requirements including waterways and flooding, which are managed by the Catchment Management Authority. These type of projects take a very long term view, 30 to 50 plus years on some occasions. With detailed designs still many years from being considered, if and when a detailed design is considered, council officers will be engaging with all appropriate stakeholders.
Thank you, Acting Director. I'll now move to the gallery, and please, if you'd like to step forward and ask a question, please.
Actually, I'd like to give a bit of a background. I have lived in the property on my land since 1978, and I will say that I went through the it won't take long, I can assure you, without I don't want to beg you, Hume Freeway discussions. From 1977, I went to every meeting because my property is Lace Big flood zone. It was the Hume Freeway were looking at your northwest truck bypass, Jordan's Lane option 1 that you've got, and they rejected it because of the number of homes, including mine, that were going to be flooded. They looked at option, where is your paper? I think it's 3, which is Arundel's Lane, and they rejected that also because it is a major flood zone. And this is a picture of Arundel's Lane, of a house that's on the corner of Arundel's Lane and the Hume Freeway, of the current flood. This place never flooded in 93. So there's got to be a big flood area, a big reason why that one, and that your flood mapping that you have just done, your C82, I said it in the planning panel, the historical map, the new map at the time were wrong. I could not drive from my home to Greta Road on a tractor because of flood waters. There is no flood waters there, and there is, on the new one, there is less flood waters. My land that had water on it in the floods that have just gone actually is now non-floodable. It is totally gone off the map. I would like somebody to explain to me why, and I'll go back to the other piece. I know I'm jumbling around because have got an intellectual disability, and that doesn't worry me. When the freeway was being built, the independent lake plan diversion, which was as council would know, there's a huge freeway and there is diversion of water on the south side of the freeway.
The diversion channel?
That's
Yep.
correct. That was done for the, I can't read it now. For the reason of 11 inches of water over at the high school to stop the flooding over there, or 2 inches on the whole of the flood zone. That was why that was done. And while that was happening, there was a lakes project. Are you aware of it? It says, do you want to read it, Heidi? Because I can't.
The project would enlist private enterprise to develop all facets of the tourist centre.
And the tourist centre is, thank you, is what? Sailing boats, a big lake like Shepparton from Jordan's Lane to the current freeway. And they wanted, the Wangaratta Council took me and the other landholders that were there, and we were the private investors. They offered me the opportunity to donate my land to the Wangaratta City Council to donate. And I was in Paul Keating's recession paying 24% interest. None of us took the opportunity up. So I'm wanting to know what you're building so my house doesn't flood. And I've asked it for 2 years and nobody will tell me. And I believe I have a right to know.
Just in relation to that lake, is that the proposed lake that Wangaratta was thinking, like I'm talking years ago, they were going to build a lake out of town for boating activities, etc., before the freeway went around? I thought there was
in conjunction with the freeway. They actually wanted the Victorian government to buy my land, and I've got no problems with that, to buy it, to make their lake and everything. But the Victorian government said, no, we can't afford it, we'll get our dirt from somewhere else. So that's when the Wangaratta Council, and it was a very good reason they were doing it. It was to stop Wangaratta flooding. In 1993, 200 and something homes flooded on the 1 Mile Creek. 53 homes, on 1 mile, 53 homes over along the 3 Mile Creek flooded. My house didn't flood, but when this Northwest Trust bypass goes through, because it is all flood zone, all that area. So I want to know what guarantee I've got that my house isn't going to flood. The house that's in that picture is not going to flood because there's no maintenance being done on the 15 Mile Creek for the last 12 years. The dirt getting taken out from underneath it. I've raised that with Wangaratta Council staff, and every time for 2.5 years, everything I've asked, I'll get back to you, including meetings. I've asked and asked and asked, and I've had none. So can you explain to me what he's doing?
Sure, and I'll just point out the house in that picture that you gave is the Wheelers Transport House, I'd imagine, isn't
That's
it?
correct.
Correct, yep. CEO McGrath.
So thanks for the question and the detailed explanation. I guess the challenge for us, Vicky, is you're asking us to give you an answer about what we're doing on a project that we actually haven't even determined to go ahead with at this point in time. So there has been some initial work. Pardon?
What did you just say? You're not going ahead with it?
Well, there hasn't been a decision yet to go ahead
One
with it.
thing I forgot to say on it. God, forget that. Forget. Land bulls. Can I have a drink of water? Thank you.
So just while we're getting you a drink, I'll just finish what I was going to say, Vicky. So it's very difficult for us to tell you what we're going to do on a project that hasn't even actually been determined to be a project yet. Well, all I can say is if we did decide to go ahead with that project at a point in the future, and if we did decide to do it on the route that you've referred to, so they're both still question marks, there's a range of things that we would have to do. We'd have to do traffic impact assessments, we'd have to do environmental assessments, we'd have to look at the drainage and the potential for flooding, and a range of other things. And those studies would all need to be done and submitted to a range of other authorities like the Catchment Management Authority. So there's a lot of work that would have to happen before we could get to a point where we could build this project, if in fact we determined to go ahead with that. So it's uncertain and it's a long way away, and we would have to do a lot of work to justify it and make sure that we weren't worsening the sort of situations that you're referring to.
Okay. Well, the other thing that I didn't say that I wanted to, Lance Bussell, who was a councillor here, back through that time, petitioned very greatly the Roads Authority to get a southern interchange out of McDonald's, is it? The southern interchange route for the new South Wangaratta industrial area, and they fought very hard to get it to bring the trucks, cars and everything off Murphy Street to join North Wang. And it was done, it was proposed, it was put right through, and it went through as a, which really would be a better thing because it's way out of a flood zone. So why haven't you done anything in that 40 odd years to alleviate your cattle yard problem, in other words Shanley Street, and your freeway, Murphy Street? If you had have done something in the last 40 years, ambulances would be getting to the Green Street, school buses would be getting to schools, cars would be going over to the West End. It was a good plan. The one that you've currently got is out nearly at Sessions Road, nearly at, what is it, Petrol Bar. What in the heck's that going to do for this town? It's not going to alleviate Murphy Street. 20 minutes. We've had 40 years to do something.
Very well said.
Thank you. I can tell you all something else that the council won't like. In this sustainability thing, as I said, I'm dyslexic. I received this sustainability thing on the on Thursday, 1st of the 4th, 21. My submission had gone through planning panel in November 1920. That's called discrimination. I asked for it, I can tell you the date, on the 9th of June 1920. I am dyslexic. I was told by, do you want me to use his name? I can.
Use names.
Okay, Justin Britt. He was my first and only contact with the Wangaratta City Council. I said to him on the 9th of June that I am dyslexic, I cannot write, there's a couple of submissions I wanted. I cannot write them. Can I video whatever to cancel at the meeting because Corona had just started. and he said, no, it has to be in writing only. That is discrimination. When on the 10th, I came in to put my submission in, and lo and behold, this document was nowhere to be found. I asked the man, which is the sustainability one.
We understand your question, Vicky. Are you addressing us or are you addressing the
I'll
audience?
address you now.
Yep.
Why did I not receive that before? Because it was discrimination.
Yep.
Why could your employee not write your web browser so I could get someone to print it off for me back in 1992?
In 2022, in 2020.
Yes.
We can't answer that question, but we will. I'll get our director to talk to that, find out what happened in that situation, and we will get back to you and let you know. I promise. I'll ring you myself if they don't to make sure.
Well, your director is quite aware of it because, aren't you?
No.
Well, aren't you the director? Who's the CEO?
CEO is
Okay.
McGrath.
I had a dispute settlement, and the person you sent in there was an absolute arrogant pig, as far as I'm concerned. I am sorry, you might think it's funny. He sat in a dispute settlement like this. Now, don't tell me a dispute settlement is ready to go to court. That is not. I call him an arrogant pig.
I don't think that's enough now.
Okay,
We
I
can-
do too.
Thank you.
Obviously, no, I'm not happy, and so do you.
We thank you for your questions, and I feel that your question's been answered to the point that this is only a mere talk of a road for the future. It might be 30 or 40 years away before all this. But thank you for your response, and we will get back to you. Are there any other questions from the gallery? Please come forward. Please state your name.
Bit nervous again, Dean.
Thanks, Marie.
Two things I'd like to speak about. The cruelty that was inflicted on Heidi, the beautiful dog at Murdoch Road. I won't say the number. Do you know where it is? Do you know where it is? I would like to know why the council, who I sent pictures to of the neglect, took no notice and only coming out on them, I'll have to try not to cry, and only coming out on the morning of the 29th of March 2022 when I witnessed Heidi take her last breaths with flies all over her. It was the saddest thing that I've ever had to witness, to see Heidi, a beautiful dog, suffer like this. First, let her starve, and only for me finding her 2 years ago and feeding her for 18 months, Heidi would have died. And then let die in the backyard for 3 days, and the council coming out only after the police called, and it was too late. The RSPCA, the Wangaratta Council, and the Wangaratta Police should all hang their heads in the deepest of shame. And I hope in future when someone rings up about cruelty cases, please just don't turn a blind eye. But when the council come out to barking dogs, but not to cruelty of animals, I don't know how anyone can be friends with animal abusers. You were sent pictures of Heidi to the council, one of your employees. 15 minutes before she was coming out, sent me a message and said that no, we can't come out, it's nothing to do with us, it's to do with the RSPCA. That's that one. And you didn't even have the decency to get back to me when I asked about your sexing about the animals. You have wasted another lot of money on the trees with the lights in the main street. It could have been spent on animals. As that lady said before, you could make that middle of the road where you put the trees in the lights, where for the emergency vehicles to get through. The other day I seen the ambulance that was trying to get through. In some cases it's a matter of life and death and they couldn't even get through. Everything I just said would just fall on deaf ears, but at least I know I have tried. I will never give up on my justice for Heidi. I promised her that on the morning I seen her die. And I'd like to know why your council employees, I can mention their names, but you probably know why didn't they come out when they seen the pictures of her bleeding, the black water? Nobody cared.
There is a process. You did speak to me and I did talk to our officers about it. They did respond accordingly to what they have to do. They did contact the RSPCA. They didn't see any hassles with or any problems with what was there. I know you were feeding the dog through the fence as you told me, which was thankful, and the dog did pass. But is there injustice? Maybe there is there too. I agree with you. We are animal lovers here too, but we have to follow certain processes, and we did follow that process. We did contact the RSPCA and other organisations, including the police that you'd spoken to too. And at the end of the day, it does come down to the dog ownership. The RSPCA didn't feel, and our officers had gone out there and inspected the property as well, and did feel at that time that the dog was well nourished. That's because you were feeding the dog.
But did you see
Which is
the
good.
backyard? Did you see the black water?
Yeah.
I used to go into that yard and give that dog water until he locked me out and I couldn't get in.
I know, that's the problem. We can't go and tell people to mow their backyard. I know the grass was high. You showed me the photos of them at that time too, and we can't go in to tell them to do all that unless it's...
When I begged his mother to the day before to please get Damien to check on Heidi, she told me I said, what happens if Heidi dies? And she said, if she dies, she dies. And the very next morning she did.
And thank you to you. You've done the right thing, so thank you.
But no, everybody else hasn't by Heidi. And these people,
So it's-
am I allowed to mention these people's names?
The family name? I wouldn't, but because that might make you liable. Yeah.
Well, it's the truth. How can I be liable if I'm telling the truth then?
Well, you've got to prove your truth. I know it sounds silly, but you've then got to prove the truth if they decide to go you for slander.
At least I've tried my best. You didn't see, Dean, how they left her die in that backyard for 3 days. He didn't even know she was dying until the council turned up, and they only turned up because the police rang them. I don't think you council people have ever been out there.
They have been out there.
When?
You told me that they did. You said you saw them out in the backyard.
Yeah, that was the morning she died. That was the morning. And what's his name?
I thought it was before that.
No, yeah, what's his name? One Daryl Farmer looked over the fence and made him clean the yard up. But I'm talking about no one cared until it was too late.
You cared, so that's
I
amazing.
did, but I need my justice for her, Dean. You didn't see her that morning when I see her take her last breath.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for your question. Any other questions from the gallery? Please come forward. Please, Bob. Just state your full name, Bob.
My name's Robert Hayward, or Bob Hayward. The photo that's been going around is the photo of my son's property. He bought it off Len Wheelers. I've spent a fair bit of time out there in the last couple of months. I've seen some interesting water flows there. Is there any ability for council to go out and possibly meet with myself or my son and just look at where the water is emanating from to and going through into the property? Fortunately, Mr. Wheeler judiciously built a good levee which held, although my son did, you'll see a tanker truck in there, came home one night and had to pump water out over the top of the levee. He's just fortunately owns a truck with a 1,000 litre per minute pump. But, so my question is...
yes, we can.
Can we just look at it together?
Sure.
And just, yeah.
Yes, I'll line you up with some numbers to talk to Marsha or something privately and for someone in your engineering department to come out and just say hi, see where it goes.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
Through the chair, I was just going to suggest, Bob, if you catch up with Marsha before she leaves tonight, it'll be Marsha's team that come out and have a look, so I'm sure you can get something organised.
Thanks, Bob. Rob.
For the councillors who don't know who I am, my name's Rob Morton, I come from Millawa. Firstly, congratulations on the re-election for Mayor Rees and Deputy Mayor Bussell. My question tonight is to do with the Wangaratta Low Density and Rural Residential Strategy, which was put to Council in December 2021 meeting. At that meeting it was split so that the land in Oxley and Millawa could proceed to stage 2 of rezoning, while the land at Wangaratta needed further investigation. Since then I've made 3 attempts, starting in August this year, to get a progress report on what is happening with the rezoning of the land in Millawa and Oxley. The last one was in October, and I can quote myself on this. I said, I'd rather be told nothing was happening than be treated like a mushroom. The reply was that further work was being done on the Wangaratta portion of the motion of the strategy. Otherwise, no work has been done. There's a perception, rightly or wrongly, by rural ratepayers that nothing outside Wang town boundary happens. This seems to reinforce that perception. For council to treat a ratepayer like a mushroom is disappointing, but to treat the councillors is disgraceful. My question to council in general, and Mayor Rees, as his area of focus is the strategic planning and consultation, and Deputy Mayor Bussell, as it is in the South Ward, why hasn't anything been done? It's 11 months since we went to council. Originally, before COVID and going back years, it used to take 6 months from the time it was approved by council till it was rezoned. We were told at the December 2021 meeting by Mr. Shorter, from memory, that it's going to take between 1 and 3 years. If nothing's happened for 11 months, I can understand it taking 1 to 3 years. As I say, my question is, why hasn't anything been done?
Thanks, Rob. Director Sword.
Thank you for the question. First of all, I want to apologise if you haven't had responses from your staff, and I'm happy to follow those things up for you. It sounds to me like you got a very honest response there from our team. When it comes to strategic planning projects, and tonight we saw a couple of examples of those, we not only have to deal with planning scheme amendments that don't take 6 months, they generally take, and this is a guess, between a year, but they could take much longer because of the process. The process could include things like objections, and if we get objections, we have to follow a different pathway. So it's very hard to estimate exactly how long that's going to take. We work with planning scheme amendments. We also work on a range of other strategic projects. That includes things like the low density and rural residential strategy. Also includes things like, you might be familiar with the Millewa Township Development Plan, those types of things. All of these projects have to be prioritised to be delivered over time. And in this case, when council took the decision to adopt part of the strategy and not adopt another part of the strategy, we decided to put our effort into the Wangaratta side to try and get that up and running and do both of those together. Now that's taken much longer than we expected. So every year we go back to our list of priorities and we consider, should anything change around this time of the year, and we have to then reprioritize. So I will go back to my team and ask about exactly where does this piece of work sit in terms of priorities, and come back to you with that answer.
It still hasn't answered
No.
my question, why hasn't anything been done? Because it says
I'll tell you that.
there has been no other work undertaken to progress any other parts of the strategy, quote unquote, from your strategy planner.
Okay, I'll attempt to be much clearer than I was before. There has been no work done on the rural section or implementing the rural section of that strategy, because we've put our efforts into working on the Wangaratta section to try and bring that up to the same stage so that both of those stages can be implemented into the scheme at the same time. That Wangaratta section of work has taken much longer than we expected, so that doesn't seem possible anymore, and therefore we have to reprioritise.
So one can't be done without the other.
They can be. Our preference was to do them together for the sake of efficiency.
Well, I think it has to rest there, Mr. Mayor, because there's obviously a lack of consultation and a lack of efficiency, as you put it, saying that one can't or hasn't been done without the other.
Rob, we'll discuss further in your house. I'll talk with Stephen and CEO. We'll be back to you in the next couple of days and see where we're at and what we can do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. So, thank you.
Name's David Boyd.
Thanks, David.
Live in 6 Hanson Street, which I've been asking for the last 3 years because we are the last house in the street. for the side of the property and the easement along the side of the railway to be cleaned up. I have also been onto ARTC, and in that 3 years, there's still nothing being done. It's a snake haven, a fire hazard during summer, and it stinks with the smell of the water just sitting there. Me and my partner went out just yesterday, the day before, and it was rotten. I've asked for it to either be filled in, piped, it is
Cleaned up,
absolutely
drain properly
useless.
or whatever.
It's beside the railway line, the
Yep.
easement between our property and the railway line. Now, I spoke to Claire and Marcus Gorin
Schooner, yep.
last year about it, and still nothing's been done.
Is it an ARTC thing, Marsha? Is it an ARTC property from the train line onwards without giving 100% assurity because we'd have to have a look at it? But yes.
There are regulations where working certain meterage from the railway, you do need approval from the ARTC.
Yeah, from our side fence, Claire told me, from the side fence to the start of the easement, you want to call it,
Yep.
is still council land. She done a check on the land or whatever,
Yep.
and she come back and told me, yes, from the fence line to the start of the easement is council.
And anything from that otherwards is
That's
ARTC.
from the ARTC.
Okay. What we'll do is we'll have a look into it. We'll go and have a look into it in the next day or so and get
That's
you to
it.
report back.
And the other part down the fence line,
Yep.
along Alpine Trusses, which there's a concrete easement that runs along the side.
There's a drain going straight through
Yeah,
and
along
out
the
to
side
that.
that way.
Yep, I know where you're talking.
There needs to be a piece cut out of that so the water from our area can
Flows
run
through.
straight through.
That runs into the back of Fallon's and around that
Yeah.
way, so I know where you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've
well,
been asking for this for the last 3 years.
all right.
And again, nothing's been done. Now, the other issue I come in with this morning, now I hit a pothole on the weekend and stuffed up another tyre. Potholes. When are they going to be fixed?
There's plenty of them and they are
Yeah, I mean, there
a
was one
priority.
right outside the council office which I took a photo of the other day near Safeway, near the first speed hump. And I mean, you hit them, you don't realise they're there, you buggy your bloody old tyres up.
We are in the process of fixing potholes at the moment. There's thousands of them around because of the excessive rain, and there's going to be more when the roads start drying out and cracking. We've got some in Murdoch Road that are just, there's a main thoroughfare. It's just they keep getting patched up by big roads and then they keep breaking up because they're not done properly.
Yeah, that's
they've got to wait for the roads to dry out correctly.
There's a big one at Tone Road and Summit Road where the old pool used to be.
Yep.
On Tone Road though.
Yeah.
That's been like that for weeks.
It's a Vic Roads road, and Vic Roads have got to do those things. Do you have any comments on that one, Marsha? That's correct. There's Vic Roads road, same one with Murdoch Road, but we are on to Vic Roads and tell them about all the major things. But there are a lot in our municipality that are our responsibility as well, and we are onto it. We've just got thousands to fix at the moment, but it is being done bit by bit. Thanks for your question, and we'll get back to you at 6 Hanson Street there too. Yes, please. Yes, please, come forward.
Hi, my name is Barbara, and I just want to ask you a question now with the dog and cat rego. With that money, what do we do? What do you guys do?
Thank you,
That
good
money.
question. Stephen Sword.
Yeah, look, I don't have information with me that gives you exact numbers and what we do exactly with every dollar and cent, but that goes towards funding our compliance activities. That includes, dog registration, but also a number of other animal management activities that council has to undertake.
Yeah, because I volunteer for the Wodonga Dog Rescue because we do not have a rescue place, a non-profit one here. So, and I do take the Wangaratta dogs to Wodonga because the RSPCA is full. Can't we do to help maybe a non-profit rescue to organise something money-wise to help them out, or, you know, that we can set something up here in Wangaratta.
It's a great idea, Barbara. Absolutely.
You know, because I travel a lot and I do pick up the abused animals. I take them to the Wodonga Dog Rescue. They do get looked after there. We do not kill them. We do not euthanize those animals. They stay with us till we find them a home. If they're in 10, 11 years old, they stay with us.
Yeah.
So we just want some help, if we can get some from you guys. And with that dog and cat rego, that we can take some out of that and help them with vet bills or, you know.
Something.
Yeah, yeah.
Brendan? So you would be aware, I would think, Barbara, that the RSPCA currently provides outbound service
Yes.
at considerable
They've
cost
been knocking the dogs back.
to the ratepayer.
Yes.
Do you, and we are reviewing that contract at the moment because that is coming up due to expire and be renewed, so it's likely to go out for tender shortly.
Yeah.
My question to you was going to be, do you know how the Wodonga service that you're referring to is funded or not?
No, we're a non-profit, so we do get donations and we do collect recycled cans, bottles to pay vet bills. People are helping us with that. We're getting donated blankets from people, you know, but the vet bills are so sky high,
Yeah.
you know.
Just for a moment, Councillor Gray.
A fabulous job you're doing, but does the Wodonga Council provide?
They don't want nothing to do with them.
You don't want anything?
No, the Wodonga Council couldn't care less. We've been fighting, we're trying to get the Wodonga, the old pound back. They knocked us back. I had Andy Maddox coming from Melbourne, he came.
Is the old pound doesn't run at all now?
It's gone.
Gone?
It's gone.
So it's all gone into private hands all through the RSPCA there, which then take money off all ratepayers to run.
And it's all over in Albury, New South Wales. Nothing is in Victoria, it's all over in New South Wales, the rescues. You know, so maybe a little bit of help from you guys.
Yeah, maybe it's a thing we can have a talk about when it comes budget time or budget submission time to have a look. We should stay in contact on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Good question, though.
What about when I asked Dean about the half price of section of the cats and the dogs? What's
Yeah.
happening there? Nothing.
You only mentioned it to us last meeting. We can't just make a decision within 25 or 30 days, so it is being looked into. Did you have something on that, Director's report?
Yeah, look, I'm aware of that question that was asked at the last council meeting. It's still being followed up. I can confirm that there's no current program with council. There's also no current funding program within state government or any other agency that we are aware of. So that does mean that we need to, if we wanted to do something like that, we need to consider how to fund that. And that then becomes part of our budget process. And, you know, effectively, we're looking at ratepayers carrying that cost.
The Wodonga Council were doing it over there.
Well, they're not 100%. I did ring Kev Poulton about that, just waiting on a response to come back on that, on how that is funded. So once I get back, I'll get back to you and let you know how that is funded through them too. Maybe there was a program available, or maybe it's through philanthropic things too. So we'll wait and see.
Kittens having kittens, it's wrong.
It is, because I go to private houses, I'm a nurse, and I do see a lot of animals being pregnant. I have taken 2 lots of cats already to the Wodonga Dog Rescue. The mother cat was over 10 years old and she was still breeding.
It's irresponsible people, they need shooting.
You know, that's why I want some help, if I
And it
can.
makes me very angry, Dean, these bloody people that don't look after their animals and get them to sex. It's so sad.
Agreed, Barbara. Thanks, Barbara, too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Any other questions from the gallery? No? Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance here tonight. We appreciate it on today, the 29th of November. Thank you for your attendance, and to the people that we've said that we will get back to you, we will be in touch with you in the next X amount of days, the short period, not the longer period. Thank you very much. We'll come out and have a look at hand.